everyone. I'm Camille Pen. I'm the director of Futur en Seine Festival. Very happy to see you here for the first implant party that has ever taken place here in Paris, in France. So what is an implant party? It's just a collective moment where people get implanted with NFC tags. What a crazy idea. It's not my idea, it's not our idea. It's Hannes Sjoblad idea. He's organizing many implant parties in Sweden, where he's from, and has got implanted hundreds of people. So he contacted us a few months ago, asking us to host this implant party, and we were afraid at first. We were surprised because it goes with many questions about the future of machine-human interfaces, about the frontier between humans and cyborgs. But we decided that Futur en Seine is really the place to have this kind of event because it's important to ask these questions and to expose all the issues that go with that. So Hannes Sjoblad, he's a biohacker from the biohacker space in Sweden called Bionyfiken. He's also the chief disruptive officer of the epicenter in Stockholm. And so that was my introduction of him. And so how is it gonna? What's the program for tonight? Hannes is gonna make an introduction of the event. Then they're gonna be the first implant made, and then they're gonna be the discussion between our guests tonight. And then for the ones who are interested, we are going to go upstairs in the foyer historique on the second floor to continue the discussion and for the volunteers to be implanted. So I will leave the mic to Hannes, and thank you for being here and for having this party.
Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir tout le monde. Je m'excuse, je ne parle pas bien français, so I have to change to English. This is very exciting to be here at Futur en Seine with you guys. And what's going to happen now is I'm going to give a little introduction to biohacking and what we are doing in Sweden, and what's the whole thing with these chip implants. And then we'll have some live implanting, thanks to well-known Sebastian, also known as Erd, perceur from Paris. He knows his stuff. I always like to work with the best professionals at this time. So, and then we have a panel of intelligent persons who have some good insights on various aspects of this technology that we will discuss afterwards. So let's get going. So I just wanted briefly to say, feel free to tweet or whatever, Instagram, things that happen. It always makes it more fun for the people who couldn't make it tonight. And now, briefly, what is biohacking? I mean, this is a complex term that you hear in different places, and I'm just going to tell you sort of how I look at it and how we in Sweden look at it. And what we think is that biohacking is, I mean, hacking is not necessarily something bad. When you hear about a hacker, is it someone that breaks into a system to steal data or money? We don't see hacking that way. Hacking for us is just experimenting. And to experiment specifically with biological beings. It can be anything from bacteria all the way to Homo sapiens. And what is also important for us is this do-it-yourself approach. I mean, we invent the toys ourselves, we build the equipment ourselves, and try to learn the technology from the very bottom. And also it's very important that we see ourselves as sort of a little counter-culture activist group. So we want this not to be corporate something or government something. It's very important that this is sort of an from bottom-up perspective in what we do. And we question authority, and we question sort of the general messages that we get. So who hangs out in the biohackers world then? It's a very diverse crowd of people. I'm sure it's the same here in Paris, but we have people who are classic lab rats who like to tinker with test tubes and hardcore lab equipment. But we also have people who are very interested in quantified self. I'm sure a lot of people here knows what that is. Someone who doesn't know? Okay, you're too cool to show, but it's about logging personal data. You can do it with fitness wearables or and also other things like you can log your sleep with putting something under your mattress, for example, to understand what does it mean when I have too much coffee in the afternoon, how does that affect my sleep pattern? And you can actually get the right data instead of just feeling tired the day after. And then in our crowd also hangs out grinders and body modification people who are, this is a subculture that has existed for many years of people who actively modify their bodies. And then we have body hackers, which in our definition, these are people who like to hack the performance of their bodies. And we are, in this category, we're very inspired by, for example, professional athletes. What should I eat? How should I sleep? How should I exercise in order to get optimal performance? And it's not just for sort of athletes. It also works for us office rats who don't have to perform physically that much, but who enjoy, I mean, you guys, just like me, would like to have a high level of performance all day, right, in front of the computer.
Hello, sorry to interrupt, but
sure.
I can speak in French. Bonjour, pour des raisons de sécurité, il ne faudrait pas rester dans les allées et devant l'issue de secours qui se trouve là-bas, s'il vous plaît.
Stand in the back, right?
Les allées qui descendent aussi. Il faudrait soit vous vous asseyez sur les canapés rouges au plateau si le participant est d'accord, mais il ne faut pas rester dans les allées, s'il vous plaît.
Anyone who sits here is a volunteer for piercing. Right. Speeding up. So just to give you a couple of examples of stuff we do in the Stockholm hackerspace, we build our own brain electric stimulation devices. This is a lot of fun. I mean, you can buy this online, but we think it's a lot more fun to build them ourselves. And this is a technology that supposedly improves memory, for example, a little bit. If you study French verbs and you put this on, you actually remember them a little bit better. And what it did for me this particular time, it cured my hangover. And that's also a pretty nice treat. It has to be sort of scientifically verified, though, I guess. Another fun thing we did was we said, you know, technology is becoming so cheap and accessible that anybody can, in fact, build their own DNA register. You can sample your colleagues or your neighbors, and you can see who is not washing up the coffee cups in the office by sampling who uses it. And the whole idea with this is not that we think that this is sort of something that people should do, but for us the ambition is to show what can be done with modern technology. And for us it's to get the message out, and then we invite other people to participate in discussion. Is this right or wrong? And often it comes down to, well, whatever it is, it's doable, so we need to deal with it. Now, can I ask, how many of you guys have this in your pocket? I learned today it's called a badge in French, right? Un badge, no? Some of you? How many of you have some kind of body earring or piercing? All right, so here we see two, I mean, very mainstream things, right? But what happens when you combine these? Then you get the chip implant. And for us, this is really just a badge that you put in the body. The technology is not more complex than that. And in fact, we've been putting exactly these kind of things into animals in an industrial scale for the last 25 years. So we know how this technology works, and it's been done a lot. But why then suddenly start putting them into humans? Well, the reason is that the world is changing around us. And we have the Internet of Things coming, and we are suddenly becoming surrounded by smart devices that can interact with these chip implants. So for us, it started on Indiegogo. We saw this campaign. It was December 2013, and we said, hey, let's get some guys together and see how this technology works. We have to find out. So we hosted an implant party. So the whole point is that, I mean, people have been injecting these implants before we did, of course, but what we wanted to do is didn't just want to be a couple of crazy dudes doing it by themselves. We wanted to create a community that sort of exchange ideas, and we learn from each other how it works, and we share tips and uses. So, and then what happened was that it was a great interest. People started calling and emailing me and saying, hey, where can I get an implant? And now in the last 6 months, we've implanted several hundred persons. Now, the main insight is that we carry a lot of things in our pockets. And most of these things, they are actually just access devices. All the keys, it's just, this is a very old technology, by the way, metal keys. You know, we found them in the ruins of Pompeii, exactly this kind of keys. 2,000 years old. The Romans used these kind of keys. Just like people use metal coins with a picture of a king, right? Pretty old technology. So some people still use it, I've heard. I don't like the idea of carrying around metal junk in my pockets. It's heavy, and you know, I lose them from time to time. So my vision is really, how can I replace need to have to carry around this stuff in a smart way? And here the implant serves a really good purpose. And in fact, the same applies to also many cards that we have in our wallets. It's the library card and the gym card and the public transportation cards, etc. They all use similar type of technologies. And then we have all the digital logins. I mean, who in here has experienced this? You've forgotten your password, or you've forgotten your PIN code. I'd like to say that our human brains, they are not sort of adapted to remember PIN codes. It's very anti-human to have to remember PIN codes in your head. And these chip implants, they can also deal with these digital logins. Yes, I said, this is Ericsson. You probably know it's a Swedish tech telecoms company. And when they look at the forecasts of the Internet of Things, they envision, we currently have about 7 billion connected devices as of second quarter 2015. Roughly about the same as the number of humans on this planet. But in the coming 5 years, we expect this number to explode. And we will be completely surrounded by smart devices that will communicate with each other. Many of them will be using the NFC protocol, which is also what the implants use. So this is my hand, and this is what I've done in the last 6 months to use my hand for. And just to give you some examples, let's see, here's the pointer. Oops. Anyway, here's my gym card. That instead, when I now go to the gym, I just swipe my hand at the door. And then here's my business card. I have my business card in my hand. So anyone who wants to scan my hand later on, you get my business details. I've gotten rid of the keys to some lockers. I have this is a discount card from a shop. You know, we get 10 stamps and you get the 10th coffee for free. And then we have the office badges, and also the passwords and login for my smartphone, as well as various discounts in different shops. So this is all stuff that I by myself have sort of walked into the gym and said, hey, I have an implant here. Can I try that instead of this gym card? They said, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds like fun. And it works. And it didn't really take any programming skills. It's just that I hold up my hand and I touch it to their reader. And then it, you know, I was registered. So we didn't have to input any particular numbers or such. Okay, so in a bit more overview fashion, what are the different uses? And this I call the generation 1 implants, because very likely we'll see some smarter stuff coming soon. So there are mainly 2 categories of uses. It is the identification in various contexts, and it's also the information storage. I'll give you some examples. Identification is obviously the use where replacing keys when I enter buildings, for example, or open locks. I prove that I am the person who has the right to access this building. Another example that I find quite interesting, and we're building one of these guns in the Stockholm makerspace right now. It's imagine if you can have a safety in a gun. I don't know, probably we're not in the States, but in France maybe people don't have handguns at home, but in some countries they do, right? So imagine if you can have a chip in your hand and it's connected to a reader in the gun, so that only this person can use the gun. To me, that is quite a relevant user case, because we read how children or burglars, they find a gun in a house and they use it on the people who live there. So with this technology, you can actually make it a lot safer. Another interesting aspect is sort of the personalization of technology. Imagine that me and my partner, we share the same family car, but she's short and I'm tall. And whenever she's been using the car, I have to rearrange the seat and the mirrors and change the music channels, etc. But if we could just put a sort of a 1 to 2 euro reader in the steering wheel, it would automatically know who is the person coming to sit in the car, and it can adjust accordingly. Another interesting example is to use this as transaction verifications. I have connected myself to a company so that I can just swipe my hand and buy stuff in vending machines. So I actually use it for payments. And we have the activity logging aspect. Imagine, I mean, I already go to the gym with this implant, but imagine if I could put readers in all the gym equipment. So it would log every exercise I do, instead of that I have to write it down or just remember it. So it's 40 times the weight and the repetition on every machine, just by having readers implanted in the different equipment. I think that would be very interesting for people who are interested in quantified self or fitness, for example. Sorry. And then we have the smart toilets. Another aspect of the smart Internet of Things, right? It's this is quite advanced in Japan. I'm not sure how far you've gotten in France. We don't have them in Sweden yet. You know, when you go to the bathroom, you actually leave a lot of interesting data in the toilet regarding your health. And a smart toilet logs these data and see, okay, if someone has a disease or approaching diabetes or something else, and you can get the report and you can log this data to improve your health. Now, what about the user case for this toilet for a family? Okay, or if I have guests at home, they're going to screw up my data, right? And all of us who care about data, we don't want that to happen. So how can I make the toilet know that it's just I'm the person using it? Well, do I want to bring a swipe card into the bathroom every time I go? Sounds like a pain, right? So what we're looking for is sort of a very simple interface between the body and the technology. And if I have a chip in my hand and the flush button, which I'm anyway touching, it registers, okay, this was the user, and then logs the data in the relevant profile. To me, that makes the user case a lot better. I'm going to speed up now. So then, of course, you can store some information on the implant. Not a lot, about the size of a couple of business cards. But I think the most exciting use for this technology is to integrate the public encryption key into the business card. So that whenever I share my contact details with someone, I also include my public encryption key, so that I can encrypt any information between this person and me. And I think this is part of a solution where we, users and citizens, we take back this lack of control that we have over our digital data. And it's a very important aspect. And I have friends in the medical profession who said, okay, this would be fantastic to have people's health data on the implant. What is the blood group, or they have any allergies, for example, if you find someone at an accident. Now, there are some downsides with this technology. Very likely. I mean, we are going to discuss this in some more depth with the panel. But what I see is there are, of course, health risks when you put something foreign into your body, if it's not done in the right way. And this has to be considered. And you have the aspect of surveillance or privacy, which is very much a problem in our modern day and age. And the short answer for this question is that the good thing with these implants is that they have a very short range. They don't have their own battery or any battery source, power source, which means that they are passive and only wake up when they are really close to a reader of some kind, such as a phone or a door. And you have to be within 1 centimeter to read it. And that means that it's really quite hard to to do surveillance for people who have the current generation of implants. To put it a little bit in context, a business professor I had some years ago, he always talked about looking for interface moments, looking for when something happens, when something changes in the interface between humans and our technology to make it easier and more user-friendly. I don't know about you guys, but do you remember what it was like to use computers before we had Windows? It was a total pain. You needed to load a lot of commands, and computers mostly just stopped and gave you the message syntax error. Now, when someone invented a system where a trash basket actually looks like a trash basket, it became a lot more intuitive for a lot more people, and it have given rise to enormous amount of new businesses. And the same goes for the web browser. Do you know what it was like to use the internet before we had browsers? It's also an absolute pain. You had to navigate through enormous index systems and BBSs. But with the browser, we had this simple and logical interface for searching for data on the web. And this has also given rise to hundreds of different companies and businesses, completely new businesses. Same goes for the app economy that has come out of the smartphone, touch interface smartphone. And I personally think that this chip implant technology perhaps has a similar potential to be a simplification of the interface between humans and machines. As proven, for example, that Disney now has completely resigned Disney World in Florida to use NFC technology for all the experiences. And I think this is a very important message here. Most people, they don't care sort of what is the six-cylinder engine or four-cylinder engine of the car you're driving. You want the car to take you from A to B. And really, when we talk about this technology, we should look at how does it make people's daily lives simpler. I don't really need to care about the different bandwidths and the size of antennas. We just want it to be safe and useful. Okay, so to my final message. Sorry. We humans, we've always updated ourselves with technology. It's not a new concept. This is the body of Ötzi the snowman. You know, he was found in the Swiss Alps, 10,000-year-old snowman, Stone Age hunter who died and was preserved in the ice. He had tattoos on his body. And these were tattoos that were not placed sort of in places where you would think that you would have tattoos for decorative purposes, for aesthetic purposes. No, these were placed on his knee and foot joints and on his lower back. And the experts, their hypothesis is that these tattoos had some kind of therapeutic value, probably magic, right, or shamanism in some way. But the whole point was that these guys were using the best technology they had in order to deal with diseases and trying to upgrade the body with these tattoos to protect from evil spirits or whatever. Just to show you, there are many other examples of Egyptian mummies or others with body modifications. So it's, in my view, a very natural thing for us humans to do. And today, what's happening in this body upgrading space is that devices are getting smarter, smaller, and they are becoming connected. And we see the trends, right? All this hardware was used 20 years ago, and today it all fits into a smartphone that has many times the power of all these other things together. And all these things that used to be hardware, the music player, the video camera, etc., it's all become software. And I think a similar trend applies to the technology we're putting into our bodies. Let's see, maybe this is the end. Okay, so my personal view, and I'm happy to debate this with you guys now, is that the connected body is a concept which is very much here to stay. And what I think are the sort of three key uses that we're going to see in the near future is, in general, this simple identification of ourselves with all the smart devices around us. There are other technologies to do that, but this particular one has a promise because it is such a simple and basic technology. And then, sorry, a little bit slow here. Okay, secondly, we have the fitness tracking aspect. We can get so much better data under our skins instead of wearing wearables on top of our skin. And also, many people get rid of the wearables because they don't like the aesthetics of them. But with an implant, you can use it with any dress or in any context because it doesn't disturb the aesthetics. And finally, the whole encryption aspect I talked about earlier, which I find very important. I would like my sort of physical self to have a greater control over my digital self and all the data I share out there. And if I can use this technology to encrypt my communications out there in a controlled way, that would be a very interesting use case. Okay, so thank you for listening to these ideas and thoughts. What's going to happen now is that we're going to have a volunteer to go through the experience and to show you guys how it's really done. And I think we can expect a little bit of bloodshed here in the room. I don't know if that is a first also here at Futur en Seine. Thanks, thanks. Hi, who are you?
I'm Awa.
Welcome, Awa. What's going to happen?
I guess I'm gonna get implanted. That's the thing, right?
How do you feel about this?
Good. I've read enough things about it and seen enough videos, so.
There are plenty of videos online, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't scare you in any way?
No. I mean, someone has to test it out, right? So.
Way to go. A big applause for our volunteer. Thanks. So have a seat. So this is a pretty quick operation. It should take just a couple of minutes. But of course, there is a discussion that has to take place on where you want the implants to sit. And personally, I think that here between the thumb and forefinger is a very good location. But some people like to have it in the back of the hand instead. And it depends a little bit on sort of how you intend to use it. For example, if you want to use it for opening doors, then this location is quite useful. But if you want to, for example, use it for people scanning your hand and getting data, then this location is a bit more handy. And so far I haven't met anyone who has chosen to get 2 implants, but who knows, maybe they'll do that instead. And these chips, they come in a little sterilized syringe kit. And you just stick the needle in and you shoot the little implant in under the skin. And it just takes a second or 2. Okay, so we're going through the procedures here. Do you feel good about this? Yeah, okay. You're in good hands, I think.
I think it's way too late to cancel, so.
You're right. Okay, so can you see down there, people? Okay, fantastic. We're up there, yeah. Okay, and so the benefit of working with professional piercers, there are of course some people who do this at home in their kitchens, but it's that you get a professional treatment, the sterilization procedures and the ways of handling the equipment is of course better left to professionals who know what happens when you make a hole in the skin. And of all the implant sessions I've been to where people have gotten implants, it's never been an issue when a professional has done it that people have gotten an infection. And the cool thing with this is also that it's not really even surgery, because you don't need any stitches. It's just a very small puncture hole, and you can put a little band-aid on it, and it stops bleeding after a couple of minutes. Hopefully. There was, we did this on stage at another conference some months ago, and they did a super close-up of the needle that was 10 meters wide on the screen. So there was a couple of persons who fainted in the audience. So you may want to look away in the last moment if that's critical. And then the gentleman who got implanted, he got up and continued his talk. And of course, since he was so pumped up, it started bleeding all over the stage. And there was some Americans who were part of hosting this, and they got so scared behind it, started calling the lawyers immediately. It's like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to get sued. And we were like, no, it's cool. You're in Europe. It's okay with some blood on the stage. Okay, so what we're seeing now is a sterilization of the hand. So you've chosen to have this in your left hand.
I'm right-handed, but my colleagues managed to get me to be paranoid. So they're like, if you lose your right hand, what are you gonna do? So I'm like, okay, might as well lose the left one. I don't use it that much, so.
Brilliant analysis. And I mean, we should point out that it is not that difficult to remove the implant the day you want to. And of course, that's another benefit with working with professionals, because if you put it in at home, the injection is pretty easy, but how do you get it out by yourself? Take a kitchen knife and cut yourself open. It's maybe not a good idea. Or you go to a doctor that's going to say, who are you? What did you do to yourself? But the piercer gentlemen, they both insert and remove piercings as on a very routine basis, right? Okay. Any thoughts or questions? Yeah. What is this? Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? I'm not sure. It's an Oyster card. Okay, splendid. So what we can do, I can do with you in a minute, is that we take my phone and we can scan it and we see what communication standard is used, because there are some different standards, and then we can see if it's compatible with the chip implant. Happy to help. So the chips we have, they are of a standard. They use a particular wavelength. There are a couple of different wavelengths, for example, for key fobs when you want to open doors. It's the 125 kilohertz standard, which is a somewhat older standard. And then you have the 13.56 megahertz standard, which is the more modern standard. And this is what we want our implants to have as well. Because it's also the one that is compatible with smartphone readers. Okay, what's happening here? More sterilization going on?
I've just cleaned the end, and now I just open all the stuff I will use for the indentation, and then we're gonna start in, I think, 30 seconds.
Fantastic. This is so exciting. At least I think. Maybe you guys are blasé. You're French, right? We have another question. Give it a shot. Should I mute the mic? Am I breathing too hard? No, it's passive. So it is in mute, except when you are touching a reader. Yeah, but if I don't want someone to read my chip, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. No, let's say you fall asleep in the subway, right? And someone can come and scan your hand. No, it's not possible with current technology. Yeah, so what I tell people this is, how you must think about this is that these chips, they can be read by people without your approval. Therefore, you shouldn't perhaps have data on the chip that you're not willing to share publicly. I like to say that put the data you would be okay to have on your t-shirt when you walk down the street. This is the kind of data you should have on the implant, but you should not put sort of your private passwords for your bank account, because you stand at risk of losing them. No, I open the office, for example. Yeah, it's payment. It's actually worked like this. It's an e-wallet. So I put like 20 euros into the wallet, and then I swipe my hand. So it's not a direct access to my bank account. And this is a standard where people use for festivals. So you get a wristband, you go to a music festival, you don't want to bring your bank card in your pocket, you're going to go headbanging for a couple of hours, you're going to lose it, right? So you get the wristband with a chip in, so you can buy your beer just by swiping your wrist. But it works just as fine with the implant. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very proper sterilization procedure going on, and now we're getting ready for the for the injection moment. If you guys could be up here, you smell the iodine of the sterilization. You seem quite cool about this.
I'm good. Are you trying to like scare me away? No.
I just want the people to, share your experience.
Oh, okay. No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I won't bother you more then. Okay. By the way, are there anyone else in here who's thinking about doing an implant? Couple people? Cool, cool. We'll see. I don't know who keeps the tab. I have a question for you. Sure. Oh, that's, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. No, it's not an implant. It's a wearable around my arm. Yeah, so when I do like this, it's I control the presentation. Yeah, I'll show you later. It's another fun tech. Didn't work perfectly, but there was some hopping back and forth when I was moving my arm, so it needs to be worked on. Okay. So now we're going to draw the point here where the needle is going to go in. Yeah, sure. You want the camera closer? Who's in charge of the camera? It's fine? Ooh. Okay, so now Stefan is massaging the shin to loosen the skin a little bit from the underlying tissues, because the needle, the implant is going to go in between the tissues and the skin. Here we go. Here it's done. Big applause.
Oh, I'm just use my syringe to put the NFC tag in the end of Awa. And I think that she's not dead. It's a little bloody, but I think that because it is a little warm today, and it's all right.
All right. So how many people have you pierced in your day, Stefan?
Oh, I pierced since now 17 years, so I think that I pierced maybe 100,000. I don't know.
Okay, that sounds reliable. Okay, well done, you guys. And as we like to say in these contexts, I mean, congratulations to being upgraded. And a little bit jokingly, we said when we have these implant parties, it's a little bit like new birthday parties. So it's like a second little birthday. Happy new birthday, right? It's the 13th of June for you now. Okay, since I think this took a little bit of time, we may not do another one on stage right now. I think we'll go with the panel. So I'd like to invite my friends up here to the sofa. I can introduce you briefly, and maybe you guys can introduce yourselves a little bit more in detail. Feel free to have a seat. And we have Christian. You are an IT expert from Kaspersky. We have Thomas. You are a PhD in biology, synthetic biology, and you're a founder of the biohacker space La Paillasse here in Paris. which I highly admire. Rémi, you're a journalist. You write about technology in various aspects. Exactement. And Nancy, you are a designer, interaction designer, and you're also interested in body modifications. So I think it's let's give a hand to this awesome panel sharing their Friday night with us. Okay, so 2 people get mics, 2 people get water. Public gets to vote who. Okay, guys, so let's start. Christian, I'll have a seat. What happened to our volunteer? She's fine? She didn't find? She'll be back. Cool. Christian, what do you think are if you can share your first thoughts about this technology? Is it a good thing to get an implant?
Well, I think it can be really highly beneficial. But the thing is, as with all technologies, what do you use it for and how do you use it? So these are the 2 main questions. I think if you use this technology for accessing doors or opening doors, the thing is it could eventually get copied. In contrast to physical keys, you will notice if you lose it, so you can take precautions so your home won't get burglared. As with the implant, chances are you won't notice if it gets copied, and so on and so on. And I mean, if you use it for really sensible data, I'm not talking Facebook sensitive, like what did your last dinner look like? So, but like your blood group, your birth date, your address where you live, all that kind of stuff. So it's very highly sensible data. And of course, this needs to be secured. But the really good thing is that we are still in a very early stage, like kindergarten stage for this technology and use case. So now is the time that we have to do really smart research and have smart decisions on standards to have it secure and like private, as in privacy by design, and not have it like doctored around and updated and patched in future.
You Kaspersky guys, you're on that ball, I understand. So in not just for implants, but for any kind of implantable technology. Now, can I ask you, Thomas, you are a biohacker. Do you think that this chip implanting, does it belong in the biohacker world?
Well, I think you gave a good definition of biohacking previously, because biohacking is all about reappropriation. It's about experimenting. And so here we have a very specific subject. I tend to work more on bacteria than humans. Actually don't work on humans at all. So here it's very special because you basically it's like working on yourself. So you basically attack a realm that is full of orthodoxy and dogma, and so it's quite good because you have to go way beyond actually your psychological limits, and so it's very interesting. Myself, I don't know if I would like right now to get implanted, because I don't feel that that will be an immediate use as the way I live. But I can completely understand the challenge of actually asking the question and leaving the question basically. So yeah, bravo Aya, and we wait for the feedback. Otherwise, I tend to use the word implant as a more global concept, where we basically live in a world where we tend to exchange body parts more and more, to understand that actually things that those parts are exchangeable. We know all the stories around not only implants but also prosthetics. You've shown examples. And it's not only about mechanical parts or mechanical parts or like made of silicones, for example, but we're getting also a lot more into biological parts and biologicals that can be exchanged. We all know about transplantation, right? So this is also something that is going to become something real soon, where we'll be able to not only implant chips, but real organs that could have been upgraded themselves.
True. And what do you think about this, Rémi? Is it the future for us that we will be exchanging body parts and organs? How far away is this?
I cannot say. I never predict, because it's always difficult to predict, especially for the future, as somebody said some time ago. But I think that, in fact, this kind of technology, I'm like Thomas, I'm not sure right now that I want to be implanted, probably because I am a coward too, but that's not, I don't see any use, but I think that one day probably there will be a more sophisticated way to...
What do you think will be, when will a lot of people say, when do you think such a technology will be mainstream?
I think that I see two directions. I think if this is for health, people will do it. If this is for entertainment, people will do it. I have no idea right now of a kind of game using such kind of implants, but if there is some kind of entertainment around it, I think it can be successful. I'm not sure that right now what is lacking in this kind of technology is that, as you say, it's passive. What interests me in the far future, not too far I hope, is little things like that which can compute, which can communicate, but there are a lot of difficulties for that right now.
Yeah, the current restriction on implanted technology of any kind is really battery nowadays, and how do you charge them, and also heat leakage, for example. So yeah, that is something that technology yet has to solve for us. Now, Nancy, what do you think about the user cases for this technology, besides what we've discussed here?
Yeah, I think it's a great challenge for interaction designers and so to imagine the way we will use it. As you were saying, we need to find real use cases and scenarios. Because for now it's like, as you said, for quite everything. But I think we need to go beyond this and find real applications.
What would you like to do, to be able to do?
I haven't thought about it yet, but I've been working in some research lab for robotics. And for example, we have robotics that can do anything, but our work is to find real applications, for example, for elder people, to help them not to get assisted, but to get assisted a smart way, so that the robots, they can help us being more independent. And that's the kind of thing that's becomes quite interesting with robotics. And I think it's the same. I think we need to have the same way to think about this regarding to implants.
Will we even I mean, do you think that humans and robotics are sort of coming closer to each other?
They're coming closer, but the point is to get this getting closer in the smart way. And the more we talk about it, the more we think about it, the more we will find real interesting goals, I think so.
Cool. Is there anyone else who would like to share some thoughts about concerns or aspects with this technology? I mean, we should look at the risks as well. I leave it open to you guys.
Well, definitely. So as I already said, it's always all in the way how you use it and how it's implemented. One thing that I also thought about, that's also touching the topic we just discussed, I think that the NFC chip is just the very beginning. So it's kind of a core module, a communication module, and it will be very, very interesting in the future how you could actually upgrade it any further, like with additional sensors to like measure your blood pressure, your blood values, heartbeat. And I was just in a discussion before this panel, and we said this could be actually really, really useful for like elderly people. So if they go for a walk, maybe in the forest when no one is around, and so the core module can actually see, okay, the blood pressure is actually really falling down really rapidly, and the core module could then trigger an alarm and maybe also activate some GPS sensor and to get medical help. I mean, these are like really future topics with additional modules, and I think with that we can really customize it to our needs, to our body, to our lives, our lifestyle, and I think that this is very, very it has a pretty bright future in that way.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the informed patient is really the new killer drug, and it's all about the democratization of medical technology, and for us to begin to understand what's really going on in our bodies. And technology is helping us to do that, and suddenly we can see that the beginnings of a heart problem is approaching years before we actually have the symptoms. So I think the potential upsides of this technology are very promising. But yes, there are also some weaknesses, for example, control of data.
Yeah, so exactly. So if we have a look at the like wearables nowadays, like fitness trackers, you already mentioned that. So the first generations of fitness trackers some years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, the vendors had serious security problems. So for example, all the user profiles on the internet, they were actually just openly available. You could actually Google them. And you could see all the sensitive information of all the users, like how much activity they had, how much they weigh, the height and age, everything, but also what kind of activities they had. And I'm not just talking like running or like cycling, but also like very like
private activities.
Very, very private activities with maybe descriptions and how much calories you burn through it and all that kind of stuff. And you really don't want to have that in public. Same goes with how all the information is actually uploaded into the cloud. No SSL, no TLS was used, and we should definitely learn from that and have it really nicely done by design from the beginning.
Good point. Thomas?
Yeah, I'd like to address a point I see. There is a line of tension regarding implants. It's the question of the carrier. So we have here with implants a permanent carrier. It is yourself. And we see it is not that easy as removing your clock, your watch. You have to remove your implants. So you're talking about technologies and uses for example, health or measuring health data in real time, coding for an ambulance. That can be done with things that can put around your wrist, So I think it's all about, do you want to accept to have something on you and having all the consequences in terms of uses and potential abuses? Because at some point, there is so many interesting positive things to have from technology. We won't disagree with that. But in terms of liberty and having, we had a quite good question, but can you shut down the thing? So having just that kind of liberty, I think is fundamental. And you said the technology is not that far yet. But so, you can imagine if you want to swing around the door to open it, maybe you could just use a little ring, for example. At least you can remove it. So in certain circumstances, having something within your body is, you don't have a choice. For example, if you want to have insulin pumps, or you want to have something to help your heart to beat. So, but in that kind of uses, for example, for games, we see more and more examples where, what you use, for example, that use muscles excitations. So that is something you can remove if you want. You don't have to keep it all day, all night, all your life, basically. So I think, that's why myself, I'm not sure if I want to get implanted or not, because I don't see actually yet the point of actually going across that line of tension, basically.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. it's both a benefit and a disadvantage that you can't remove it, because you can't lose it, you can't forget it at home when you're in a hurry, but again, exactly, you can't take it out, or you can take it out, but it's a bit messy the day you want to, right? Rémi, what do you think is there a holy line, sort of, is the skin, why is it a big line to cross?
I'm not sure, in fact. There is a lot of debate among people about this barrier of the skin. I think that, as Thomas said, it's a question of choice, in fact. It's not a question so much of skin. If one day I can swallow my nanobots easily and expel them in a Japanese toilet a few hours after, this is not really important for me if it is inside me. I think that the big problem is how to stop it and how to use it. I think that the fear of the skin, I'm not sure it's so important, in fact.
No? Nancy, do you think the skin is a barrier that a lot of people are unwilling to cross?
I don't know if I'm the best to answer the question because I already got lots of
Exactly.
things implanted.
You were
So
willing to
for
take
me,
the
it's not a
step, yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about, maybe the thing is that it's not just iron or whatsoever. It's more technological. I mean, the fear is more on this because everyone has piercings now. But for me, yeah, the question is more about the choice. If someday everyone gets an implant, and if some other people from another culture, I mean, they don't have it, will they be rejected from our society if everyone works and uses it the same way? So if you let the choice to do both with and without. Basically, it's very a simple way to.
It's a good point that several of you guys are making. There are perfect substitutes for the implants, as in a ring or a wristband or what you have in your keys. I mean, they work just as fine, of course. So I guess we shouldn't underestimate sort of the emotional, putting all these technical discussions aside, the emotional aspect of saying, wow, I'm upgraded. Do you think that's important to some people, Nancy?
Being upgraded? Yeah, I think more and more people are fond of things like that. I think
it's a statement.
It's a statement, yes. We shouldn't be afraid of being upgraded as long as we get the choice and we get to know that there is another life without being upgraded. The fear I have is that little kids now, they don't make the difference between, they have always lived with technology, so they don't make the difference between living with and without. As long as you keep this difference in mind and you know that there are some parts of the world with and without, some parts of life with and without, it's the core thing. I don't know if it's.
It's a good thought, and I'd like to ask Thomas: what is the border between biology and technology? You're a biologist, and is there even a border? Is technology natural?
Well, no, it is not. It is human invention, right? So I wanted to answer the point about being upgraded. I don't feel that to be upgraded, you have to get something within your body. I feel already upgraded having a smartphone. So in fact, it touches the concept of individuality. You know, what is your body? What is yourself? So it's a question of ecosystem around you, what the tools you're using. You're already upgraded by all the tools you're using because it extends your abilities.
This microphone exactly augments your voice reach,
exactly.
Right?
So I would have a very bad throat tonight if I didn't have a microphone. So that is upgrading for me. So again, we come back to what kind of upgrade you want to access. About your question, what is the relationship between biology and technology?
Yeah, is there a border? I mean, is the classical question a bird nest? Is it natural or is it technology?
So I wouldn't actually answer that kind of question because it's difficult actually to confront biology and technology, because biology is a science, is basically all about the living, and technology is something that is very unnatural. It's something that is artificial. So here it's all about if you want to do biotechnology, then using biology as a technology. Well, everything is possible. It means that something is artificial. It means that you have thought about it. It means you have designed something. You have a hypothesis. You know exactly what you want to achieve in what direction. So that is the technology, and for what kind of uses. But the limits is the limits you want to put, basically. We talk about all the prostheses. We see more and more robotic hands, for example, robotic feet. Do we feel somehow that tomorrow we'll feel enough, ease with such robotic hands or robotic feet, so that we will be so sure that it will be so much funnier, so much easier to have that kind of prosthetic, that even if you're completely healthy, you'll be able to cut your feet to replace it with something else. I don't feel that, again, it's a question of choice. Okay.
We are not there yet, no.
Yeah, we're not there yet, exactly. So the border is basically individual borders. It's all about choices at the end. And again, it's also about regulations. So there is basically two layers. There is the basic layers about regulations, what is allowed, in your ecosystem, in your country, and what is your personal limits. So at some point, we realized that there is some time fracture between those two, and because technology advanced very far, regulation advanced with less speeds. Yourself actually is all about culture, so it can change very fast too. So it's a very exciting moment we are living right now, because all this is mixing, in a wheel loop, and we don't know exactly where it's going to stabilize, and so it's open question.
Exactly.
That somebody
or is it even
to
accelerating? Yeah. Thank you so much for your comments. Is there any other comments, or I'd like to pick up some questions from the audience, if there are any thoughts for the panel? Or we can do questions. Are we running out of time? No, we're good. Okay, another 10 minutes. Any thoughts or questions for the panel? Gentleman with the bullseye on the shirt, please.
Can you update the data on the chip once it's inserted, or?
Yeah. I do it with an app on my phone. Simple as that. Many things in life should be that easy. Shoot.
I think there's something that you kind of touched on, but we develop is the idea of technological abstraction. Now, I work in user experience as well, so a little bit like you. And our job is it's antithetical to what my personal belief is, in that I evoke Carl Sagan, in that do we understand technology? We create it, and we become dependent on it in some ways. And that's our job, to make technology easier. But at the same time, we're talking about near-field communication. How many of us in the public really know what it is? And you're using devices manufactured by someone, right? So there's that question of trust in that as well. Can we manufacture our own chips? And since there's always a recipient, can I trust the recipient as well? Because as the gentleman said, I'm giving out information. So how do we deal with that, in the sense of I think most of us are geeks, but the larger public tends not to ask the questions that we are asking now. So there's also that aspect. And do you guys have any thoughts on that?
The panel? Okay, I'll just share my thought really quickly. I think we've never understood a lot of things around us, right? I mean, people who, in the Stone Age, who planted the seeds, did they really understand the chemistry of the biochemistry, what's taking place in the seed that grows? I mean, to use things effectively does not always require the absolute full understanding of what's going on underneath. I mean, we're used to dealing with things on much higher levels. So I think it's a little bit too much to ask for this full understanding of technology.
What I want to say is I really feel with you, because you probably have the most difficult job ever. Because the thing is that usability and security, those two things, they don't always mix too well. And your job is to make that happen, or make the best compromise to that people actually have trust in this technology, maybe also transparency, but it's also, it has to be nice to use, easy to understand, and still be secure. And this is very, very hard to do. Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else or any other question? Great. You're getting upgraded too now.
What will happen if, imagine, you want
Faulty upgrade. Shoot, I'll repeat your question.
so what will happen when you have to choose between a Microsoft and an Apple implant? And how will it change society and relation between people? Because this guy got an Apple and this guy got a Microsoft.
That's a fantastic question and also horrible. What happens when we have to choose between the Microsoft and the Apple implant, right? How many people here thinks that day will come? Right, how do we deal with this, guys? Someone wants to comment?
It's
Sorry?
So what's funny is that at some point, if that's the case, it means that you're branded, right? Because it's not part of you. So until now, you could actually remove it and exchange it. So we come back to the line of tension again. So what's part of your individuality or not? What's exchangeable or not?
A lot of people identify very tightly with being sort of, I'm an Apple user, right? So they probably wouldn't mind. I mean, what I'd like to say is that the whole point for us biohackers to do this is really because we want to explore this technology before the big corporates come and push these products on us. And I think we really feel that this is a little service to society, that we do this on a voluntary basis. We want to understand how it works. We want to show people how easy it's done. We want to show what can be done, but also to discuss the weaknesses before the tax authority comes and say, ooh, everyone should have an implant. Everyone who has a debt should have an implant, right? Then we, who have tried this technology, who understands it, can say, okay, so why do you need that standard and why do I need to give that particular data? It's not actually required at all. So it's very much about being one step ahead of sort of the monsters of the game. That's the way I see it. Okay, maybe it's time to round off. Can we have our volunteer up here on stage for a final comment? You're cool, you've had your time. Yeah, you want to come up and just say how it feels? Nice applause. Great, so how does it feel in your hand now? Can you tell us, please?
Fine, I guess. My fingers are still moving, so that's great. Thank you for doing a great job, and yeah, I'm fine.
So congrats to your upgrade. I'll help you to put some fun data on that implant now. And I guess we're moving upstairs to have a drink and continue the conversation.
We'll have the other people that are going to get implanted are going to stay with us now. And the rest of the people, we're going to keep the discussion upstairs.
Okay, cool. Thanks for being here. Thanks to the panel. A big hand to them.